I want to now take you through the experience of actually seeing the film. And no spoilers here, but I want to talk through my whole experience and just kind of take you through it. I think it'll be a useful way to maybe help explain why I like the movie. I can see there are still people in chat, and there are definitely people online that I've talked to and friends and stuff that still just don't get it. Like, there's legitimately people out there that are like, I don't understand how you feel this way about this movie. And most of those people, you know, either just really didn't like it or they think it's really whatever. Okay? But I don't. I love this movie. And there was a moment in the movie that I legitimately had the thought to myself, I think I'm loving this. And then I just kind of gave in to loving it. And then from that moment on, I continued to love it. And I think it's really good, especially as it builds, because I think Act 2 is really good. I think Act 3 is really, really good. I think it's good, okay? But I also have to be honest here. This did not go almost like any other movie I've ever seen. This was a very unique experience. So, number one, the thing I have to say, just to give you context, we were in D-box seats, okay? I didn't plan that shit. I don't know if y'all notice, I fly by the seat of my pants quite often. I did not realize that I had bought 4DX D-box seats for this movie. Okay? On top of that, this screen and the thing that we went into, this was maybe one of the nicest theaters I've ever been in. And if you've ever been in like an IMAX or a true, you know, premium screen, there's this thing that'll happen where like the way you sit here and the screen like goes lower than you. And so you have like the whole screen. It's a really cool experience. You know, premium screens I think are great for a reason. But this was like, it was kind of wild. Okay, so we get in there and we're a little late. You know what I mean? Just like stream, a little bit late. We roll in there, and it was like there were two fucking gigantic sofas that we got to sit in. And the screen is just absolutely fucking amazing, dude. So I was already primed to be like, oh man, this is cool. And so anyway, we sit down and you know, movie rolls, and it does this like no spoilers. It does some text on the screen that's explaining shit, and it uses the number 3 a lot. Slight spoilers there. And it's kind of a lot, you know. I'll be honest, it's like an info dump. And then you get into some stuff, and I remember trying to kind of like ride with it. You could feel the rough edges very early on. There's a couple of cuts. There's one in particular where it just cuts to an establishing shot out of a conversation. It's like really jarring. And I just remember being like, oh man, that's not that great. But at the same time, there was enough going on that I connected to that I didn't hate it. Okay? And I legitimately had this feeling about 20 minutes in. I said this earlier, but this is true. This is just my experience of watching it. About 20 minutes, 25 minutes into the film, I'm like, man, everybody's wrong. I don't hate Lex. I don't hate Superman. I don't hate the humor. I don't even hate the plot and how it's building. There's stuff I like, but overall, it's just not that good. And I had this thought where I was like, man, I think people are being so crazy about this thing, and ultimately it would be a shame if none of the stuff I was worried about really bothered me, if all the hyperbole and conversation around it was like fake, but then ultimately it just wasn't that good. And there were some reviews out there that we went over yesterday that kind of indicated that, where people were saying like, it's just fine. You know, you probably saw those reviews where people were saying like, it's just kind of fine. Okay. But the one thing throughout that first part of the film that kept me going was David. And I will say that maybe the best thing that James Gunn did throughout this whole lead up to this film, the creation, becoming president, all that, the best thing he ever did was cast David Corenswet as Superman. Now, you've probably heard a whole bunch of other people make this point. But I just want to emphasize how important that is. you'll probably notice that even some of the voices out there that are saying the movie's not great, they're probably all going to give David his flowers. Like, literally, find me somebody that doesn't think David was good in the role. He's not just good. He is the foundation of the entire thing. And it doesn't collapse because of his foundation. And then it's able to flourish and sort of bloom because of him as well. He's so good. It's crazy. I did not expect it. A lot of people are saying it and whatnot, and you get some of it in the trailers, but then of course there's the elements in the trailers and the teasers that were really worrisome. And you're like, man, he's yelling, there's the memes and this, that, second, and the third. You're a loser, like all that sort of stuff. Nah, man, he fucking nailed it in a way that's like kind of it's kind of crazy. So that was something that kind of I was able to connect with and sort of stick with it. And then the movie kind of finds itself, and there's a pulse to it. There's a beat to it. I think some of some people describe it as having pacing issues. I don't really think it has pacing issues. I think it actually builds quite nicely, but the beginning is pretty slow and jarring, and then it really does find its rhythm. It leans on the things that work, and frankly, the things that work are David as Superman, Lois, that relationship, the intimacy of uncovering Superman. Like, you're sort of presented, as much as the movie is immediately in perspective with David, and he's talking to the robots, this, that, second, and the third, doing this, all this sort of stuff. And it's not as though he doesn't have agency. You're kind of like in with him through that perspective. It builds, and then you uncover aspects of Clark as you go through the movie. And this all leads to a few really emotional moments. And I think because of just the earnest performance by David, these moments, and like it's done through I think there's a lot. I can't wait to see it again because I really want to kind of digest these separate scenes and what was going on. But it's kind of done through some of the other characters as well. You will probably hear some folks say that this is not so much a Superman movie because there's so many characters, so much is going on, the ensemble and all of that. I totally disagree. I think this is a Superman movie truly and through, because all of the other characters, including the Justice Gang, including all of the world leaders, including Lex Luthor, everybody is talking about Superman, perceiving Superman. Superman is the thread that brings them all together, and you learn more about Superman through these different perspectives. Like, for instance, there's a scene where Luthor is explaining to some powerful people, why he doesn't think the Kryptonian is good and they have to take action, et cetera, et cetera. And through that scene, you learn not only how Luthor views the character, but how all these other people view the character. You get a sense of that through the Justice Gang when they have conversations about Superman. It's fascinating to see how Guy Gardner actually talks about Superman, especially even after some crazy things are revealed. You probably already know what I'm talking about, if you know the leaks and everything like that. But I think it is really, truly all about Superman. It's a subtle thing, though, because sure, there's a lot going on, and you're literally seeing a lot of different characters and a lot of different sets and all these different things. But Superman's the through line. You know what I mean? And the investigation of that is the consistent conversation that the movie is having with you. And I thought that was great. And also subtle. You know what I mean? Good and subtle. But so as I'm watching the movie, man, it's man, I'm not really digging this. Then all of a sudden I am kind of digging it. Then all of a sudden, I'm laughing at it. I'm loving Clark. and the juxtaposition of like all the other characters against Clark and his belief system and just his charm and his innocence was really, really cool, and it was really good. And this leads to, you know, some emotional beats. And, you know, I had asked you guys earlier if you thought that I, like the Grinch, had my heart grow 2.5 sizes. And I asked you guys if you thought I cried in the movie. Okay? And I did. I can't believe it. Like, there's some parts in the middle, and I connect so strongly to what was not like what was being messaged, but how it was being messaged. And it was in those moments where I was like, I think I love this. And yeah, and then at that moment I was like, yeah, I do. I love this. And then the thing that I think is really cool is like, from that moment, I was truly like, it had been kind of a roller coaster ride. Didn't love the beginning. Starts to, you know, work for me, and then all of a sudden, like I'm like, damn, like I'm fucking love this. And then I think from there, the movie just does exactly what it needs to do. It's not crazy. It's not necessarily profound with anything that it does in its third act. But I think it appropriately just takes the conflict, dials it up, allows Clark to be Clark, allows him to be Superman, to save people, and to, more importantly, change other characters. Change the characters around him. He changes Lois by the end of the movie. You know? He changes Guy Gardner by the end of the movie. He changes Mr. Terrific by the end of the movie. He changes Metamorpho. It reminds me of Goku a little bit. Now, Goku, it's a different vibe because Goku is, you know, he wants to fight. Right? So, like, oftentimes Goku will win an enemy over because, as opposed to showing up to be like, I'm going to defeat you, Goku shows up and he's like, you look really strong. You want to fight? You know what I mean? But Goku's sort of also like, I'm not going to let you hurt people and all that other stuff. And things happen, and then, you know, Goku... By the way, this is something that Toriyama didn't actually intend. There's a mistranslation... I'm going to go on this whole fucking ramble now, but there was a mistranslation in the anime, and that whole speech on Namek when Goku turned Super Saiyan, that's actually not how Goku was originally intended. But then they kind of lean into it after that, and Goku has kind of become a superhero-esque, Superman-esque character. I felt like the way Clark was like Goku in this film was he's just consistently kind of a country bumpkin in a way that is at first easy to scoff at, and yet as you peel the layers back as you go through it, you can't help but feel that it's real. And the other characters have this. There's a moment where like Lois is having this like realization about Clark as she's like looking around, and I kind of had that moment too where I was like, damn, like, the performance is great. You're setting the character up to have these ideals. But there's still like, is this like real? Is this, you know, some kind of an act? Will he slip into a different kind of a vibe? But the thing that's so crazy is like, you're just affirmed. Like, you just become affirmed and reaffirmed in the character of Clark. And you're like, oh no, like, this is him to a T. Like, he is that sweet kid that, like, yeah, maybe you would kind of clown on a little bit for being too kind, being too naive, for thinking that everybody and everything is beautiful and all that sort of stuff. It's really well done, you know? The reality is, from the moment that I loved it, it executes, it dials it up, the action's incredible, the spectacle is great, I thought Lex Luthor was fucking brilliant. I loved Lex Luthor in this movie. The ending feels cathartic. It feels right. There's a speech that's good. It's, you know, like it wraps it up in kind of like a happy bow or whatever. And I'll say this, right? I don't think the movie is sophisticated. I don't think the movie is like profound in the sense that there's something that this movie is doing specifically that's like, oh my God, this one individual concept or how they took this thing from the comics and transferred it into live action is so novel, or like it's not pushing this genre forward because of its complexity. It's not pushing the genre forward because of the interpretation and how that's so unique and different. It's not pushing the genre forward because it's the most challenging story to the characters or for the audience or anything like that. The weird thing about Superman is that I think it's profound in its simplicity. I think it's profound because it's not trying to be any of those things. And I think it's profound because it does something that other comic book movies do not do. I was trying to kind of like unpack this last night when I was driving home. Because, you know, legitimately, I don't think it's the best Superman movie. I don't think it's the best gun movie. And it's not a movie that, like, you know, I have friends that are cinephiles and shit. And I went to film school. And so I've got some, you know, some real sweaty film geek friends, right? And sometimes I'll see a movie or a project or, you know, there's something out there that I'm like, oh, man, that's for the cinephiles. Like, bro, like, oh, my God. Like the new, there's like a new cut of like Caligula that's coming out and some shit like that, you know, that kind of stuff. This is not that at all. You know what I mean? But it has something about it that stands it stands apart from a lot of these other movies. And it's something that I will probably reach back for more often than I reach back for some Marvel stuff, right? So, like, for instance, you know, Marvel's got a crazy catalog. There's a lot of movies in the Marvel catalog that I'm like, yeah, it's good. And in fact, it's really good. But how often am I actually going to reach back to have the experience of watching that movie again? Like Shang-Chi is a good example of this. I love Shang-Chi. I think it's fucking incredible. I do not watch Shang-Chi. Like, is that making sense? Shang-Chi is great. I don't think I've watched it in years. Now there are Marvel movies that I think are like, dude, you gotta go back and revisit those, and those are really, really good. But Superman, this movie has something unique that does set it apart from other comic book films, and it is providing something that is different, and I think it's just like a good vibe, man. Like, do y'all remember those books called Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul? I think is what they were called. This movie feels like it's offering up something just so different from what a lot of these other projects are offering up. And I think when people are saying this thing of like, it's like a comic book that comes to life, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's that people are recognizing this attribute of the film and they identify the Superman character as having that quality. And therefore, yes, we as comic book fans can recognize that quality and identify it as an attribute of Superman. And so, therefore, yes, it does feel like maybe one of the most accurate comic book films ever done, because it is accurately depicting an aspect of a character that is, number one, not that cool, but also like really hard to translate into live action, right? Like if you were to say, hey man, you know what the thing about Superman is? He's just like got a big heart. How do we get that across in a movie? Like, dude, there's so many different ways you could tackle that problem, you know, address that. Superman's a weird movie because, like, parts of it aren't even that good. And yet it accomplishes that goal that, like, I don't know. I just don't know how. I can't personally think of a better example of nailing an iconic comic book character, nailing them in a way that's not obvious and very subtle and so damn good, you know? So I did not expect this to happen. I did not expect to feel this way about it. And the truth is, credit to Gunn, you know, credit to Gunn, because I think he pulled this off. And I think it's going to operate this way for a lot of folks. I would imagine this movie's going to really resonate with a lot of people. Hopefully it does well in the box office. If not, I think it'll have an incredible amount of success, you know, digital and streaming and all of that. I think this is a great start for the DCU. And I'm excited to see more. Now, I will say, this is a Batman Begins, and I am hoping there's a Dark Knight, because this is completely serviceable as an entry point. It is completely serviceable as a character study of Clark. It's like the Iron Man 1, where it's like, yeah, like we get Tony, we kind of understand him operating in this world and all that sort of stuff. But you need more. You need more. You need to challenge him in different ways. Luthor needs to grow and develop. The whole entire world needs to grow and develop. Clark needs to grow and develop. It was crazy because as I was driving home, I kept thinking, I really love David as Superman. I hope this movie is successful, because I want to see him 10 years down the line. I mean, Downey got 10 years, maybe 10 plus years with Iron Man, and was able to, like, especially towards the end of that run, tap into things that were like, they were elevated. They elevated the genre. You know what I mean? And I would just love to see, what will Lobo, fuck you, chat. What will David's Superman be like in 5 years, 10 years? What will he be like if the Black Lanterns rise? You know what I mean? What will he be like if a crisis happens, if Superboy Prime happens, you know? What will he be like if Mageddon is flying towards Earth, sending everybody's reptilian brains into overdrive, you know? What will this Superman be like after he's lost some soldiers? You know? This is a really good movie. It's a really cool entry into the universe. Maybe even partially because all of those questions and all of those further storylines and things that we know from DC Comics and whatnot, it'll be interesting to see how these characters deal with that. I'm really excited to see Holt's Luthor continue on. Thanks for watching, and if you like this clip, smash a like on the actual video and subscribe to this channel. That way more of these clips get into your feed. I've also linked the full episode below if you want to check out the entire thing, including the Q&A we do with fans. You can also watch this show live. We do it live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can also find all of my content, including the videos I put on my main YouTube channel, on the podcast feed.